Good afternoon, everyone. It's Rob here from Oasis Skeen Buyers Agents, and I've got my colleague here with me, Anjay. He's been property investing for over 20 years. He's bought property over 4 different countries. He's been investing at such a young age with his parents who started developing properties at a very young age, buying them and then flipping them for profit, holding properties as well for long-term investment. So I guess you could sort of say Anjay's been born into property and it runs through his veins. Most recently, he's been working with Oasis Skeen, I'd say, for the last sort of decade, really. I think we've been working together, Anjay, off and on in different capacities, but now full-time. And he's the author of his most recent book, which is doing quite well in sales, titled The Homeowner's Guide to Property Investing. So welcome today, Anjay.
Thanks, Rob. Kind words.
And today I really wanted to sit down with Anjay and talk about some of the investment strategies that he's employing with some of our clients, because he is our regional expert at the moment. He's buying across Australia, and we're going to cover why he's buying in those areas. We're going to look at what the different strategies he's been using for property investment, and also what the different options have been for some of our clients as well. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. Much appreciated.
And I thought that the most pertinent question we could start off with, Anjay, is why have you been recommending regional areas, and why have you been buying in regional areas?
Well, I guess, Rob, the reason why I've been doing it, and probably we've got to go back a few years, I've been buying sort of Albury-Wodonga, which is regional, for the last 7 years for clients. And that kind of started off more because of the affordability. And back then, people had $300,000 and they'd go to property marketers or other buyers agents, and they would say, no, that's not enough money to invest. And I just thought, well, you can start small. As a family, we started small, and that's what I suggested and encouraged to other people. And if we looked at the numbers back then, we were buying properties for $180,000 to $200,000 that were renting for $250 to $300 per week. So they were getting the cash flow as well as the capital growth. So it was more the affordability. People had $200 to $300 to spend, but not much more. Now, if we fast forward 7 years, it's still the same, I guess, process and fundamentals. It just the price points are slightly higher. People now have $500,000 or $600,000 to invest, and you can't really get much in Sydney or other capital cities. And so investing in regional, where there's capital growth and cash flow, it works. So I guess that's why I've been doing that for our clients.
Yeah, I really love that, because as you said, if you're looking at Sydney, what are you buying? You're lucky to get sort of a studio if you're in the metropolitan type area or close to the CBD. And I guess what you're saying is in these regional areas, you're getting house and land, and really there's a lot of value in the land. Would that be right?
Yeah, definitely. And we'll probably go through that when we do a couple of examples. But let's say if you had 300 to 400, and the referral that you gave me the other week for someone that we both know, we bought for 340,000, and the rent's $400 per week, and that was a renovated home. And the one down the road from that, we bought for 335, which you could still add value to by doing a new kitchen, and that was also getting 380 to 400, and that was a 700 square meter block. So those one needed a little bit of work. But then we had the other client who we bought for 600, which was a 3-year home. So you still got the depreciation on that one. That will rent for 550 per week, and that's low maintenance. So it depends on what people's budgets are, what their, I guess, whether they want something that's low maintenance, something they can add value to. So depending on the budget, we can work around their strategy.
Yeah, and I like those returns, because literally they won't be paying anything towards it, or if anything, maybe getting a bit of a cash flow out of it. So
well, they should be.
That's fantastic. On that note, Anjay, what sort of different investment strategies, scenarios have you been buying for particular clients? Can you cover what these investment strategies are, what the different options are that you've been purchasing?
Yeah, there's been quite a few that we've looked after this year, and it does come back to the budgets. And but let's say, for example, we've got those two that we just suggested, those ones for in the mid threes. So that strategy was more buy something and add value. So where you can add value on those ones, you can potentially put a 2-bedroom granny flat on the back, which would cost 120 to 130. They would rent out for 270 or 300 per week, but would be worth about 200 to 220 once built. Plus, you got the front home. Let's say if it was 340, they're worth 380 to 400. So you're adding manufacturing equity. You got cash flow, and then because they're pretty close to town, you've got the capital growth too. So that's a mixture of all three. Then we had those block of 4 units that we bought. Now those ones we got under market value. That's the example I sent you too. And so that was 4 units on on separate titles. Individually, they should be worth 230 to 250k each. We bought those for 695. So if you just look off the bat, we've probably got 200 grand's worth of equity just straight away there.
Which is awesome, right? Because then they could just withdraw on that and look for their next purchase.
Yeah.
I like those price points, because obviously if we're looking at doing that in Sydney, we're looking at multi-million dollar type investments. And yes, you can certainly have great reward with that, but also you can have a huge loss of that. So I think at those sort of price points, it's a lot more comfortable for most Australians.
Well, I think the beauty down here is, I think within most people's budgets, there's something for everybody. Like if you've only got 300, there's still something we can buy. Like we bought one this year for a client for 240. Yeah, it was a weatherboard home and not that nice, but you could renovate it, spend 10, 15. It would still be worth 330, getting 350 a week rent. Yeah. And that's affordable. Then you got the sort of 300 to 400k budget, which I just mentioned. Then you kind of got that sort of 500 to 700. We get something more newer, low maintenance. And then if you want, you've got, I guess, the 800k plus. So
it's good. So you're catering for different price ranges. And I like that if you can start off small and use them as stepping stones into bigger projects once you get your feet wet.
Yeah. So it's just like, that's why, like, with what we do, it's like, it doesn't matter what borrowing capacity or budget you have, whether it be 300,000 or 2 million. I guess we can cater for all those budget sizes, as mentioned to you before. Like, just had someone come down from Sydney who's got a couple of $1 million, and we're looking at a property over in the Victorian side in Wodonga, and that's around 800k, but we can subdivide and put 2 sort of luxurious 4-bedroom townhouses that are detached. So you spend potentially around sort of that 1.5, 1.6 all up, but then all of that combined is going to be worth 2.3, 2.4. So it really depends. Like we can cater for the bigger budgets, but we can also cater for those first-time investors or potentially rent investors. Like a few of our clients are living in Sydney, can't necessarily afford to buy in Sydney and are buying elsewhere, so they can utilize the gains in the market.
Well, Anjay, let's have a look at some of these case studies. Tell us, what the client brief was and what you ended delivering to the client. I'm just going to share screen here, folks, so excuse me as I look away. And the first one we're going to bring up is this one here in North Albury. Tell us the client brief, Anjay, and tell us what you bought there.
All right. This one, the client brief, they'd already purchased one property with us already this year, and then they were looking for something that they could add value to or develop down the track. And with this one, I found out about these 3 properties side by side off market. And I guess the beauty about this is we bought it well under market value. So it's in a good pocket. The school's there on your left there. But with these ones, we ended up purchasing all 3 for 700,000. So what's that work out to be? About $233,000 each.
Wow.
So if you sold them individually in the current market, they'd probably get 270 to 290 each. So
Excellent.
So we save the money off the bat in terms of obviously purchasing under market value. They're currently getting $750 a week in rent for all three, so they're covering the repayments quite easily.
Mm-hmm.
Where the potential is, and for this client, they're going to hold on to them for about 3 to 5 years and then look to develop it. So you got about 2,100 square meters of land. So the property on the right and the middle would probably knock down.
Mm-hmm.
Keep the one on the left, and then you're left with probably around about 1,800 square meters of land, which you could get at least 4 to 5 detached townhouses.
Wow, fantastic.
Yeah. So,
And so, I mean, really good cash flow while they're holding the properties at the moment.
Yeah. So good cash flow. There's already an increase in value already, and land's continuously increasing at the moment. Like if you worked on today's figures, you could build a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, double garage, detached townhouse for around 300,000, and they would probably sell for around that 400 to 450 each, and the rent would be around that 420 to 450.
Wow.
So, yeah,
Great deal. Great deal.
When you do the numbers, that they stack up. But I guess as a long-term buy and hold, it works. There's a development option, it works. Like you got plenty of options with this.
And being based down there, you've got the team, the resources there to be able to assist people, not only just to acquire the land firstly, but to help in terms of developing it with your builder contacts and things like that, don't you?
Yeah, definitely. It's just, I guess that's what, when they come to us, they're not just getting a buyer's agent just to buy the land or the property. Like we can assist them from purchasing to helping them with, I guess, the subdivision through our contacts, the builders with the design. I guess they're getting an all-in-one solution, which obviously is a peace of mind because I'm on the ground. I can obviously look over it, help project manage if they require it.
Yeah. They can call you for any headaches, right? Any problems, you're their guy.
Hopefully not.
You're not trying to manage, 5 or 6 or 7 different businesses. They can call you and you're on the case because you're there. But I found, with the clients that we've worked with over the last, 10 years or so, you've sort of got the team to an efficient stage and to a very professional service as well, where they're getting things done. I guess in the beginning we did some trials, and you found out the useless ones or the dodgy ones, but we've worked out now that we've got a really good team.
I think that's with any sort of business that you run. It's like you always have some teething issues at some stage until you find the right referral partners or people to work with, and I think that's in any location. But now I've definitely down here got the resources to make it sort of run efficiently.
Tell me too, in terms of buying it under market value and creating instant equity that you just spoke about, have those clients used that equity for another investment at all, or are they just letting that park for a while?
Well, they've already got 4 this year, so they're kind of the equity they've got there. It's just more like you might have a lot of equity, but it also comes down to the serviceability.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll look to do a project next year on the one that we bought up in the Maitland area.
Yes.
So they're going to build a duplex up there on the land that we bought there.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, in a couple of years, they'll look to do something on this one.
Okay, excellent. Let's move on and have a look at
Go Schubert. Yeah,
Schubert. Let's have a look at that. So we've got, what do we got here, NJ? And what was the client brief to start with? What were they looking for, and what did we end up buying? As you're talking about that, I'm just going to scroll through some of the pictures here for the viewers.
So the brief wasn't necessarily this one.
Right.
So we had a budget of 750 for this one. They potentially wanted on the New South Wales side, but we're open to Victoria. We were looking potentially for a house with land where we could subdivide, kind of like that other scenario. But this one I knew about off market before it went online. But I kind of kept on bringing it back to them just because of the opportunity. Like I've bought blocks of units for clients before, and with this one, you've got 4 2-bedroom units. They're all on individual titles. And I know these properties, if you sold them individually in the current condition, they can be renovated. on average, they're selling for 230 to 250 roughly per unit.
Right.
Now, the agent was wanting sort of the vendors were asking like 720, 750, and I was kind of being a buyer's agent going, oh, that's a bit steep. It's like you're dreaming. Like at 720, 750, it's still fair value. We initially started off at 635 as the first offer, which pretty quickly got rejected. But,
well, it's the first rule of negotiating, isn't it? Always start low. Got to give it a crack. Low. You never know.
And then the next one was probably mid sixes, around 660. And just once again saying, oh, yeah, it's still too high. But yeah, we ended up buying it for 695. And if you work out the numbers, that works out to be about 170, I think 174 or 175 per unit. So like if you're looking in current condition, 230, 250 compared to 175, you've got 60, let's say 50K per unit. So you've increased the value. Well, not increased the value. You've already got instant equity of 200K there.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, and looking at them, they're pretty dated. So
yeah, you can add
there's some upside there for some renovations, certainly. And I guess looking at that condition, it would turn off some potential investors, certainly if they're living interstate and having to, bring it up to a reasonable standard. I suppose another question, as I'm looking at the pictures here, from our viewers would be, what sort of tenant would that attract at the moment? Well, who's living there at the moment? What sort of tenant could you attract if you gave it a bit of a paint and things like that?
Well, currently at the moment, like you've got long-term tenants. So the two units furthest away from us, they're been in there for 5 years each. The one third in, they've been there for 10 years, and the one on the end closest to us been there for 20 years. Now, they're all under-rented quite considerably. That's only 180 per week, where
right.
market rent, as is, should be around that 270 to 300.
Right.
So, like, if that was the case, if you're getting 270 per week for the price that we purchased it at, that's probably about an 8% return.
Right.
If you spent sort of around that 15K tidying them up, and that's just maybe kitchen, bathroom, flooring, paint, like you're looking at probably at least 270, 300K per unit each. That's what it would be worth. And the rent would be over 300.
Gotcha. Okay. Let's have a look at this one here in East Albury that you bought.
Yeah.
What have we got here? What was the client brief and what did you end up purchasing for them?
Client brief. So this guy is based overseas in the Middle East, Australian guy, looking for something long-term, 10 years, buy and hold, going to get the growth. So it was more about growth rather than cash flow.
Mm-hmm.
This one was on market. The guide was 550 to 600, which at the time was always going to be low. Like I'd said to the client, I'm going 630, 650 is where I thought it was at.
Right.
You got a big block. East Albury is a very well sought after area. And since like we've
got a bit like Sydney, you got the eastern suburbs.
Yeah, like it is well sought after. Like they outside of COVID, East Albury would go up 7 to 10% capital growth a year.
Right.
Like with this one, you got like an 800, 900 square meter block, prime location. Like the good thing about this one was you got upstairs, which was 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, kitchen, and downstairs was its own kind of self-contained 2-bedroom granny flat as such.
Mm-hmm. So
you could rent them out individually. At the moment, we've just got one tenant and they're paying $600 per week. The ultimate goal would be down the track just to combine it or back into one home, make some sort of major alterations, put a pool, cabana out the back. You're probably spending $200K on the reno down the track, but in this location, a renovated 5-bedroom home with a pool, you're probably looking anywhere from 1.3 to 1.5.
Wow.
Yeah. Like even since we've bought it for $655, it would now, like if even in its current state, it would sell for $750, $800 very easily.
Right.
If not more.
Okay.
It's just dated. It just needs a lot of work.
Yeah, you can see it. It's sort of like stepping back into the 1970s with some of that decor, but you can see it's a good solid brick home.
It's
You
got
can see
solid
the
bones.
concrete slab here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So because that's all under roof, we would extend out there, enclose that so that you got more living dining space. It just had the good bones and a good location. That's Monument Hill, so that looks out to West Albury.
Right, gotcha. Up there. Right, okay.
Yeah.
Terrific. All right, let's have a look at David Street here. Tell us a little bit about the client brief again and what we bought.
So let's look at 6 first.
Okay, no problem.
That one. So this client brief, Sydney investor looking at purchasing something local because they do work down there. So this one, I guess you got 10 in the block, 4 years old. The 2-bedroom, 2-bath, plus a study townhouses. This one, the agent had been sort of nagging me saying, "Oh, this is a good investment, NJ. Like, you should have a look at it." And when I did go have a look at it, he was right. It was good. I guess what had deterred a lot of people is, like, initially the asking price was 580 to 600 because the unit to your right up the top there, that had sold 4 months earlier for 595.
Right.
And for this one, originally priced at 580 to 600, but you got a long-term tenant until February next year, paying 420 per week. So that put off a lot of owner-occupiers wanting to move there and a lot of investors because the return's not that good.
Mm-hmm.
So for this investor, they could see past that. I guess February's not that far away now. And what they're going to do is furnish it, and then you can rent it out for easily 700 to 750 per week, which would give it a return of over 6%. Well,
and what sort of tenant would you attract with this particular property?
This one, because it's central Albury, it's like you're probably looking at professionals wanting doctors. Like you're probably looking, wouldn't say short-term leasing, but like more executives, like wanting to come down here for 3 to 6 months, or wanting to scope out where they want to live in other Albury Wodonga. So then that way they can determine. So it's like usually your professionals, like when you're paying that sort of higher rent, like you're sort of more that upper class.
Right.
But it's perfectly fine for an owner occupied. It's like 700 metres to Dean Street, which is the main strip in Albury.
Okay.
You got a lock-up garage, you got a car space. It's you're 500 metres from everything.
Yeah, so it's all about convenience and living in something modern and fairly low maintenance.
And if you click on number 4, where we've done well on this property, so this is in the same block. This one came up 2 weeks after we'd purchased that other one for 540. And then this one sold at auction a few weeks ago for 635.
Oh, fantastic.
I don't like this one as much just because downstairs you just feel a bit more trapped in. It's a bit darker. Upstairs there's the skylights, more open, higher ceilings. But this will appeal to downsizers that don't want stairs, but not my preference.
Right.
But if you compare the two, they're pretty similar, but like 90K difference in purchase price.
Yeah, so did you let the first client know how much it's got? Oh, I'm sure he would have known. Is he? Did you let him know that what this is sold for? He'd be stoked.
Yeah, it did. That was probably my first phone call after the auction.
Well done. Well, NJ, great tips, great case studies there as well. I'm just going to wrap things up, but my last question that I have for you today for our viewers is, what is the most fundamental property investment advice you could give people when buying?
I'd probably say there's a couple. First is planning. Make sure, like, purchasing is not the first aspect of buying property. Like, planning is the key, and getting your finances sorted. Make sure you got the pre-approval, and it doesn't matter what your borrowing capacity is, whether it's small or large. Like, once you got that, then the planning stage along with that will help you determine what strategy you go for, like whether it's cash flow, capital growth, manufacturing equity. Like, once you've got the plan in place and your finance done, then the purchasing's the easy part.
Awesome.
Pretty simple.
Very good. Very good. On that note, we're going to wrap things up. On behalf of myself and Anjay from Oasis Skiing, thanks very much for viewing the show. If you've got any questions, if you need some advice or assistance, make sure you reach out to Anjay on his mobile number that you can see on the screen. And we'll see you next time.
Yeah. Thanks, Rob.